Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Meditation with Francis and a journey into the mind. Today's conversation will be about the possibility of trying to restore our mind once we have gone through a very traumatic experience and feel like we are stuck in a situation that is not possible for us to move forward and endure. First of all, let me clarify that a situation will be something emotional. Let's say, for example, that you have a loved one that passed on, or you have lost a dear friend, a father, a son, someone, or a relative in your family. Or you have gone through a divorce and you are having some physical or emotional problems, not as a result of it, but before that, let's say some illness. The minute you realize that something is wrong, is the minute you are going to be able to step from the situation where you're stuck and move forward. But before that, when something drastic happens, we normally have the feeling that we can move forward, that we cannot move on, that this is so painful and the grief is so deep and we don't know where we are. And as a result of that, we can have a traumatic experience mentally, physically, and emotionally. For example, if you're having problem with a disease, the possibility of your body sending messages to the brain and vice versa to affect that area where you are suffering from something or some physical illness will get even worse. And if you are on your own, or you haven't have much resources, or you feel that whatever you're going through is so difficult and embarrassing that you don't want people to know where you are emotionally, that can have a very negative effect. You don't have a way to express yourself and allow those feelings that are going on to be released and move on. And sometimes we feel so stuck that we think it's not possible to let it go. When that begins to happen, disaster happens emotionally. You can have a stroke, you can have a nervous breakdown, and you can begin to have insomnia, which will affect your body at a physical, mentally, and even spiritual level. Imagine having to process 70,000 thoughts per day at a consistent basis without stopping. That means your brain is at such a high accelerated pace that you don't know when to shut it down. How do we ameliorate the possibility of changing from the way that we're thinking to transform the mind and allow ourselves to become free of those thoughts, the suffering, the emotional, and even the physical pain that we are going through? First of all, let me give you an example. For me, when I have lost my father and I was going through a divorce, the first thing I did was recognize that there was a problem. I knew that something was not right. I knew that I needed to do something. And however difficult it was, I had to search for help somewhere, somehow. And the only feasible remedy that I could find at the time was to be able to go through meditation so I can slow down the pace of my thinking and allow myself to surface and become who I am as a human being. Because emotionally, I was completely lost at the time. I didn't know which way to go. So I began to do meditation and to be coherent with my way of thinking. Then thoughts began to change from the worries of the world to the possibility of putting my thoughts into something that was more constructive, such as writing my book. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. First, I had to go through the emotional pain to allow things to move on. Then I have to come to the understanding that I needed to change my situation where I was at the present time to then begin to see something positive happening. And I can say that it was a miraculous change. I went from having too many thoughts that were not very positive to seeing a horizon that was better for me to be able to perform at a physical, mental, and even spiritual level. Because it was at that moment when I began to do fasting and to find myself, connect with myself first at a spiritual level so that I can be coherent with my physical being, my spiritual being, and my emotional being. The transition can happen as soon as you realize I need to make a change. That's all that it takes. Although people think it is not possible to go through that step where you say, I need to change this situation now, not later. Now. Because if you don't do it now, it will continue. It will be like a roller coaster. It will continue to move on the same way without any change in direction. The minute you begin to understand there is a problem, you can try to find some of the solutions that will make you feel more who you are, more coherent, so that you can think at a totally different level of your mind versus this chaos of thoughts that make us think that we are stuck in a situation that is not possible for us to move on. Once you do that, you're free. You are free to be yourself. Then you can determine which direction you want to go, what is it that you want to do next, which way do you want your life to go. It is as if you surface from water when you're drowning and you take a deep breath. And as you do, you begin to live again. Because until that happens, you are so compiled mentally, spiritually, and physically that it feels as if you were inside a cocoon without the possibility of moving out. Think of it as an egg that has a baby bird inside. And no matter how hard the bird is trying to move on and birth itself, it can't get out. This is what it feels like. I can tell you how it feels because I myself have gone through the experience. That's what I felt before I wrote my book. And this is the situation where I was before I understood that life moves on, that it's okay to grieve, that it's okay to let it go, that it's okay to move on, that it's okay to be me and allow myself to surface from any situation. When we suppress that resilience to be able to move on with life, life become more difficult. Life become more obscure. We cannot see ahead. We cannot see the horizon in front of us. Once we do, it's like a bright light and it embraces you and you understand who you are and you understand what you're capable of doing and you understand that you're not just your thoughts. You're not this mind that generates 70,000 thoughts per day. You are much more than that. And you are so powerful that that power makes you become the real essence of whom you are as a human being. Because we all have the power to change and transition from the way that we think to the places where we are to where we want to go in life. And I know this sounds like a leisure. However, after moving from a situation to where I was, to beginning to write 5 books as a result, I can attest that yes, I do know. Yes, I understand. And yes, I know how the mind functions and how the spirit and the physical being is affected or released from the pressure that we mentally put ourselves under. From a journey into the mind, it's been a pleasure as usual to be here with you. Thank you for watching my video. And this is Francis Mahan. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Love and light.